Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mike's Plus One Plus One, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffing.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Oh, it is wonderful. And now, and to introduce our guest, Nerd Girl, take it away.
All right, well, this week we've got Dana Fischer. She is a standout in the world of Magic the Gathering, best known for her love of elf decks, Nissa cosplay, and utter fearlessness at events with people 3 times her size and age. Dana's star continues to rise with preview cards, podcast appearances, and competitive casual and competitive Magic. Please welcome Dana Fischer and her dad, Adam.
Hello. Hello.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Very excited to have you guys here. Now, if you missed our pre-show, patrons get access to that version early. But with that, let's go ahead and start the show. Now, normally, Dana, we sort of get started as all of our guests. So how did you get introduced to Magic? How did you get started, and what made it appealing to you?
I started. My dad taught me. My dad played like a while back when he was young, and then he taught me when I was about 3.5. I don't remember exactly how I was taught because I was really young. And I think I definitely took interest in it, especially with the green cards, and just kind of kept playing. And then when I was 5 and I could read the cards, I was really able to like play in my own events and stuff.
Part of it was when I was playing with your older sister Sadie. You wanted in on it.
Yeah.
So that kind of was part of it.
Yeah.
And what about green? Did like what caught your eye and kept you in the world of green?
Before I started playing Magic, green was just my favorite color normally. I like loved everything green. And then when there was green in Magic, I'm like, I'll do that.
Okay, very cool. So it's not the elves specifically, it's just the green color, and the elves are the bannermen.
Yeah, I later got into elves. I just started with vanilla creatures and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, I know of a couple of people who are big in Magic who started playing Magic, maybe not before they could read, but certainly they understood the machine that was Magic the Gathering before they could read. They understood that this art meant that it did this thing, and then later the words corresponded to that. People who are very young. I'm not sure that this was Reed Duke's origin story, but he started when he was 5, for example. People who are young and play Magic before they read it was really interesting to me. So do you remember Magic before you could read?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All
I know is that my dad tells me that he showed me the arts and I memorized the arts. I don't actually remember it though.
Right.
Correct. She was always good at those memory games that, of like matching and all that kind of stuff that, little kids play.
Right.
And so just sort of likened it some to that.
It's very helpful with all of the different textless versions of cards and, foreign cards and alternate Phyrexian language cards and stuff like that, I'm sure.
What, you mean you can't read Phyrexian?
Not yet.
I need to get completed first. And when I do, then hopefully that will just become innate to me.
Get with the times.
Dana, do you have a favorite? What is the thing you like about Magic the most?
I really like getting to be able to like go to the events and socialize. And I've met so many people that I just now know outside of Magic and just like hang out whenever I'm like going somewhere and don't have, and it's made family connections too, like my sister, adding my sister and my mom and these friends as well, just creating lifelong friends.
Now, at some point, there was a sort of a cosplay element that came into it. How did that kind of start to mesh with you playing Magic and being in costumes for Magic?
When I was 6, I believe, there was a Magic GP in Denver, and I was playing in that event. And then Air Bubbles Cosplay came and offered to make me a costume because she thought it was great that I was a little girl in this, and so she asked me like who I wanted to cosplay as, and then she kind of made me the costume, and then I just wore the costume, and it definitely was like on the comfortable side, so I was able to sit and play with the costume on. So I just kind of wore the costume while I played.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of your first Nissa costumes? Because I know Air Bubbles also did your Chandra one, right?
Yeah, that was my first Nissa costume. I didn't get the Chandra costume till about half a year ago. So that's
nice. I didn't know Air Bubbles made that one too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
She's
working
making-
on another one.
Yes, a future one.
Oh,
A what?
exciting.
a future costume.
Nissa.
Oh, a future one. I
Since
thought
I
you were
grew out
spoiling
of the one
content.
that was made for me when I was 7.
Yeah.
Which does
Right.
make sense.
You got some mileage out of that one though.
Yes, 4.5 years I wore it.
Wow.
So Dana, tell us now. You've been playing forever. You play competitively, but you're also starting to jump into the world of content creation. Is there a thing that you enjoy the most about content, or a type of content you enjoy creating the most?
I just like creating content where I'm playing Magic, especially stuff that's like family friendly and family engaging. Like when my dad and I stream together, that's really fun. It's just like we're playing the game, but we also get to do other things while playing Magic, and it's not just this sanctioned competitive event where I'm completely focused, and I like that aspect, but I also like being able to play while just being completely myself.
Now, you have a lot of hobbies. You have a lot of things you're doing. However, you're also a 12-and-a-half-year-old Jewish person. How is the studying of your Haftorah portion going? And-
It's going well.
Good. Okay. Are you excited for that?
I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. But I've definitely started. I've got I've started, and that is another thing that I'm gonna have to keep in mind, is like bringing that stuff to study at night.
We already know that she's a diligent student, because we're filming this episode 30 minutes early so you can get to your studies.
Right.
Yes.
So keeping up with everything.
You're not going to have stage fright, presumably, up there on the Bema. So you've been on a feature match camera. So
I've been on feature match cameras. I've done musical theater in the past. When I was young, I did acting. So yeah.
When you were young.
I was reading something about yourself, and it was talking about how you wanted to get it to the day 2 of a GP and the top 64, and you did that, and then they denoted the date, which was January 2020. And I certainly know, having children myself, it has not been easy, whether it's school or socializing or friends or almost anything, honestly, for the past 2.5, 3 years almost. How has that sort of affected your drive to compete, and sort of honestly how your whole life at this point?
I think in a Magic perspective, I think when there were no in-person events, I didn't play competitively for that entire time, because all the online events I have to be 18 for. And so I couldn't play in competitive online events. And so I think I went mostly to playing on Arena, and I didn't play as much then until we got our Twitch stream started up, which was when we did it when we had the pandemic. And then I've had like my phone, and school was on Zoom, and so I was able to keep in contact with my friends there. Well, I got my phone like a little later on, but I had like devices, and my dad could like reach out to people, and I had my computer, so I could still like talk to people even though I wasn't able to see them in person.
So without competing competitively, what was your like favorite way to play that isn't competitive?
I liked playing Arena. I think I definitely did a lot of historic brawl, and I did a lot of historic. One of the months I was I was like, okay, now I'm gonna try to get to Mythic. So I was still able to like compete sort of, but it wasn't like a strict tournament. But I was still able to like keep up playing.
Okay, that makes sense. And what is your favorite format to play competitive when you're playing paper Magic?
I think for a very, very long time it was modern, but I'm really liking how Pioneer is turning out. And so I think in paper competitive Magic, I really like Pioneer.
Nice. I like Pioneer as well. I hope it gets a little bit more popular now that people are getting back into stores.
Yeah,
Right.
I like Pioneer because I can play a deck that's like a good popular deck, and I add Nissas to it, so I can play Nissas.
Right. Exactly.
I played that Nissa behind you.
That's right. A lot of people played this Nissa.
Yes,
Shakes the world.
she's
This was
probably the
a
best
good
Nissa.
Nissa. Yeah.
That
Well,
was- go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Dana, you'll be excited to hear. I will probably be dressing up as a Nissa for one day, so I'll channel my
So
inner
come
Dana.
find me, and we'll take pictures. And then when I get my new Nissa costume, then we'll take pictures of dueling Nissas.
That was-
Amazing.
Air Bubbles and Zvex are gonna dress me up, so I'll do my best to make you proud, Dana.
You're in good
Now-
hands.
Speaking of Nissa, though, I don't know if you've read the news, but there
I
is-
know.
I know. I don't want to be the one to break it to you, unfortunately. But the story is being told, and in the story, Nissa is going through some changes. How do you feel about that? From
I
this
hate
character,
it. I hate everything about it, and I think Nissa should no longer be a Phyrexian.
Okay,
However,
well,
I
that's
think
the show.
However, I think I'm at least if Nissa's going down, Jace is going down with her.
All right, fair enough. I like that.
They're all going to drag themselves down there. It's fine. It's whatever.
But do you like the new card at least? Do you think it's
Yeah, the
good?
new card's good. I think it has a place in my Elf Commander deck.
Oh, neat.
Nice.
Nice. I don't know what completed means. Like, I don't know. Is it a thing that's going to get fixed? Are these characters completed forever? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they would take away like some of Magic's most iconic characters, Nissa, and just keep them that way. So I think there's going to be some way to get them
They're going
back.
to travel back in time, or I
Right.
don't know. They'll figure something out.
I think I agree with you, particularly because isn't Malira named something in the set, something along the lines
Yeah,
of the living
Malira is
cure?
like she can give some sort of protection to those who get oil in them and aren't fully Phyrexian yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's got some sort of something happening to her that makes her sort of like The Last of Us. But the new card is called the Living Cure. So that implies that there's a solution,
Yeah.
theoretically.
Yeah.
I'm not a Phyrexian scientist, but it's possible. So
What if it's sort of like a Avatar where they bend the metal out of them and something that can remove the oil, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
They won't be bad guys anymore.
Right.
So
And she'll just ignore Jace and leave Jace that way because no one cares.
Right.
So now that you're able to be sort of competitive and you're going to all the RCs that you can, how is the competitive scene these days, do you think, now versus what it used to be?
I think it's definitely gotten a lot easier because before the pandemic hit, I couldn't shuffle a regular 60 card deck. And then when I shuffled the deck for the first time after the pandemic, I was actually able to do it. I mean, there's still some things like sideboarding that gets kind of tricky, but I think the way that I'm able to handle the cards is a lot easier for me now. And I think my play has definitely improved a lot. If I were playing in these like 3 years ago, I don't think I would have done nearly as well or seen as many of the plays. And so I think I've definitely grown a lot as a player, which means that I'm placing higher consistently in RCQs.
Nice.
And we actually had, this is a weird conversation to have, but we had a conversation with Ollie Antrazi about the balance between being a competitive player and being a content creator. And we had the same conversation with Jim Davis. Now, you're obviously not nearly as far into your career as they are into theirs, But these are two, they don't have to be competing, but they are certainly competing for your time. Do you see yourself more as a content creator or more as a tournament player?
I think I don't really know. I mean, I haven't been doing content creation for that long. I think it's been only like 2 years or so. But I think they all have different aspects that I like a lot. Like playing competitively, I get to like really be focused and zoned in. Whereas when I'm content creating, I'm more like having a fun, light time with it. And so I think they're just both very different. I wouldn't say I prefer one more than the other.
But there are conflicts that come up.
Yes, because a lot of our CQs are on Saturdays, which are one of the days that we stream. And so sometimes if I'm doing well in that, then I don't have the time to stream at our normal time.
So as of now, your competitive side is sort of taking over for the content creating side at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, for the weekend streams, the weekday streams are usually pretty easy to just to do. I usually don't have conflicts unless it's like a life conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And the competitive scene is a young person's game. I mean, I was going to PTQs until I was, 25. But like before I was like, oh wait, no, I'm a content creator. Like that's what I actually am. So you've got another decade of tournament play before you get jaded with this.
Is there any sort of content that you are looking to create or working on? Like what's the next step for you as far as content goes?
We haven't really thought of the next step. It's mostly just like doing the streams, doing preview cards when I get them. I think if I were to do something else, it'd be like make learn to play videos to help that are more towards younger people, like people my age. Because I do have experience in teaching people that are around my age into getting to Magic, and I think creating like a relatable online source is a good thing. But we haven't started in on that. We haven't really thought about anything. That's just a thought.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's is there sort of a stigma, in schools at this point still regarding Magic or collectible card games in general? And do you feel like you have a harder time getting people excited or an easier time getting people excited?
No, it's definitely pretty easy. Like at my school, I run the Magic Club there, so we meet at lunch, we play some Magics. I like help supervise and give people like rules stuff if they have rules questions, kind of like a judge there without being a judge. Because I mean, the younger group is generally not as knowledgeable about the rules, and sometimes they don't know how certain mechanics work. So I can help guide them with and help them guide their play while just kind of hanging out and watching over. And I think the school is very accepting of that and accepting when I'm traveling to events.
I can vouch for the knowledge of rules on Dana's side. During our episode of Decked Out, Dana was the one leading the table, making sure people weren't missing their triggers and like fixing literally everybody else's stuff. It was very, very impressive.
Everybody needs a table captain. That's what you need.
And hopefully at some point I'll become a judge, but I can't actually do that until I'm 16. So
right. Yeah, I think that the culture in general, especially in the United States, has shifted since we were in grade school,
right,
away from, because like I'm sure you've heard stories like this, but I was obviously bullied for being a nerd and a geek. I don't think that happens as much anymore because all of the highest grossing movies are based on comic books and all of the TV shows are based on vampires and werewolves. So it has shifted slightly. I would say, I don't want to speak for you. I don't know what it's actually like, but based on what you're saying, it sounds like it's not as ostracizing to be involved in a nerdy hobby.
No, I think there's actually a decent amount, of people that definitely do like nerdy hobbies. Like there's definitely people I know who do like Pokemon. There's a decent amount of people who are at the Magic Club. And my school in general is like people who are very school focused.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do think that the culture has changed. Like it is kind of cool now to be into comics and things like that, more so than it was when we were younger.
Do you
Now,
feel
when
like,
sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, do you feel like for those kids who are playing, Pokemon or whatever, is it easier to kind of get them into Magic once they've sort of gotten used to a card game?
Yeah, I actually started out with Pokemon when I was like 2, and then made the switch into Magic. But yeah, I think if you know about Pokemon and you know how to play like that, there's definitely things that could like be translated like this is like this, or really like any of the card games.
It is absolutely surreal talking to you because I started playing Magic when I was 12. And I think a lot of people learned Magic in middle school or like early in high school. That's like typically when people, I in my experience, that's when people get exposed to Magic. So you've been around much longer, but I actually wanted to talk about a different facet of that, which is I learned when I was 12. And I would not have stuck with Magic if my mom hadn't allowed me to go to the comic book shop, because she would come to the comic book shop. She would sit there and she'd go to the Veterans Memorials for PTQs and pre-releases. She'd come to the comic book shop for Saturday Magic before F&M existed. She would take me to the tournaments, and then there would come a moment. I don't have it specifically in my head, but at some point when I was like 13, 14, my mom said, yeah, you can go, and I don't have to go with you. I'm presuming at some point that day is coming. I don't know which of you to send this at, but that day is coming. You have to kick the baby bird out of the nest at some point. And I know you're not looking forward to that necessarily, but have you thought about that?
I think we have. There's definitely been events where my dad's like, do you want me to play? Do you want me to play in it? Do you want to be on your own? I did play on my own for the Pioneer 5K at the Magic Summit. I played in that on my own. My dad played in it as well for the first day. And then I definitely like him having by my side, but I think definitely it's something I could do on my own, and it has been something we've thought about. It's just that day is not now.
Yeah, I think what a lot of it depends on is a few things. Probably one thing, honestly, is how many people you know at the event.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Because, there is, and you've pointed out several times, oh, look, I'm the only female and the only kid in this entire store. And that could be a little bit, off-putting and all that. So I think there's some of that happens. Mm-hmm. And then I also think some of the sideboarding stuff, which is actually Pioneer.
Pioneer, I didn't have to worry about that. So that was like, my dad could try playing in it on his own. And he did, and he did terribly, and I did well.
And just to, this is true, actually, very true.
He went 0-4, I went 5, and I went 4-0-1 or something, or 5-0-1,
yes,
something like that.
Because with sideboarding, we'll talk about like sideboarding plans in advance. And so a lot of times, like in Modern, Dana will say, oh, let's do, this plan, and point to the sideboard plan on a piece of paper. And I'm just there executing. So I'm not making any of the decisions. Dana's made the decision, but I'm kind of doing the outs and the ins. And I think
especially the outs. The outs is hard when it's the whole deck.
Handling the deck and taking those out. That's the part that I think you feel takes you just a little bit longer and you're not as comfortable with on that front.
Right. Whereas the Pioneer deck is a Karn the Great Creator deck.
Yeah. 15 Carnival artifacts.
Very nice. So
Carnival.
I know, right? So, you've played competitive Magic for a while and seen a lot of releases and overtime and whatnot. And, and I think you've also seen when things go wrong and they start banning things and whatnot. And so, what is there a certain sort of kind of Magic or a certain power level that you're happy with that you think a competitive environment should be? Like, should there just be one tier 1 deck and everyone's at it? Or should there be like 8 decks that are just as good as any of them? You know what I mean?
I think having a wide variety is good, because then if you have the one deck that everyone's playing, one, that deck's going to get really expensive. 2, it's going to be boring because you're just playing against the same thing. Whereas if you have a variety, you get to see different decks. You get to have an option like, ooh, this deck looks kind of cool. I want to be doing that, instead of like, oh no, I have to play this because it's the best deck. And so I think having that wide variety is good. And that's why I think Pioneer is a pretty healthy format right now, because there are just so many different decks. There's not like one deck that's like, oh, this is like easily the most powerful deck.
That's interesting to hear.
All right, so we are about ready here to turn the corner into our fundamental turn, as we call it here on the show. And again, this is a series of rapid fire questions, and you just say whatever comes off the top of your head, the first thing you think about, and we'll go from there. All right. What is your favorite thing about Magic?
The community.
Old border or new border?
New border.
Favorite set?
Origins.
Favorite mechanic?
Flying.
Favorite deck?
Elves.
Card you wish you never got rid of?
Earthcraft.
Best advice you repeat?
He got rid of that.
I love Earthcraft.
He
Justice for
got rid of it.
Earthcraft.
I wanted
Justice
it
for
for a commander deck. We're like, oh, we have it. And my dad's like, oops, maybe I traded it.
That's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, cool. Best advice you repeat?
Don't worry about what other people think. Just like do what you want to do and think through your plays.
Nice. What do people get wrong about you?
Sometimes at events, people get wrong that like I'm playing in the event, especially early on. Like they thought my dad was playing in it,
And what do people get right about you?
That I can be terrifying sometimes.
That's awesome. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
Mm-hmm.
Nissa.
There you go. And failure means what?
Failure means another opportunity to try again.
And success means what?
It made you happy.
There you go. And that ends another fundamental turn and another episode of Magic Mike's +1+1. And finally, Dana, where can people find you online?
People can find me almost everywhere at Dana Fischer MTG, Fischer spelled Fischer. And then my dad and I also have our Twitch stream at Fischer Magic. And we stream there Mondays and Saturdays at 3:30 Pacific. And yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
See you guys next week.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. This was great.
And thank you, Dana and Adam.
Yeah, it was
Thank
fun.
you.
We appreciate it. All right, here we're going to turn here now to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, Alter Sleeves, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler, our special guest, Dana Fischer, you guys for watching and listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, or Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like their Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics +1+1. Good night, everybody.